You were our very first podcast guest. You were our guinea pig. You have goats.
Yep.
I have guinea pigs. So we're kind of in the zoo family. And so welcome back. You have a lot to talk about and share with our listeners today as a small business owner that's scaling your business. Hello, and welcome to Small Business Pivots. I'm your host, Michael Morrison, a small business coach who helps small business owners grow a business that can run without them. Go to michaeldmorrison.com to learn how we can help you. On this podcast, we talk to small business owners to learn the pivots they made to grow their struggling business into a successful business now doing $1 million or more in annual revenue. Today, we have a very special guest, someone who needs no introduction for our loyal listeners. He's not just a guest, he's a part of our podcast history. Joining us for the second time, it's a pleasure to welcome back Jeff Gabelsberg. If you remember, Jeff was our very first podcast guest back in episode number 2, where we explored his remarkable journey from trouble to triumph as a multi-million-dollar small business owner. In that episode, Jeff shared the pivots of how he took his company, Garage Door Solutions, from a few $100,000 in annual revenue to well over $1 million in a remarkably short time. But that's not all. Jeff also excitingly hinted at more pivoting developments within his company. He talked about acquiring other businesses and undergoing a complete rebrand, all of which he couldn't fully disclose due to legal constraints. Today, Jeff is back, and he's here to spill the beans on the incredible transformations that have taken place since we last spoke. He's here to unveil his brand new company identity and, most importantly, to share his invaluable experience, tips, and advice on successfully executing a total rebrand to expand his business into new markets across various states. If you're a small business owner or an aspiring entrepreneur looking for inspiration, practical insights, and wisdom from someone who's walked the walk, you won't want to miss this episode. Jeff Gabelsberg's journey is a testament to the power of resilience, innovation, and strategic pivots in the world of small business. So let's dive into this exciting episode with Jeff and discover how he's continuing to reshape the landscape of his industry and achieve even greater success. All right, welcome back, Jeff. How are you today?
Hey, Michael, I'm doing great, man. Good to be back. How are you doing?
Absolutely. I'm doing fantastic today. So for our listeners that don't know yet, you were our very first podcast guest. You were our guinea pig. You have goats.
Yep.
I have guinea pigs. So we're kind of in the zoo family. And so welcome back. You have a lot to talk about and share with our listeners today as a small business owner that's scaling your business. Anything you want to share real quick before we get started on this?
Oh man, I'm just excited. I don't know exactly how long it's been since we had that first one. It's been a while, but man, a lot's happened. I'm just excited to be in business and be a part of the community and growing and doing what we're doing, scaling like crazy.
Yeah, so it was actually, believe it or not, about 7 to 8 months ago when
Was it?
we
Okay.
last recorded, and a lot of things have changed. And so I want to just get started because you are taking it to the next level. So the last time we talked to you was Garage Door Solutions was the name of your company. You were in the process of doing a complete rebrand. You couldn't share the name yet because you were still getting the legalities figured out and things. So let's back up just a little bit because we didn't know anything about the change. Did you do a merger acquisition? How did that first start?
So with Jolly Goat, which is our new name, Jolly Goat Garage Doors, it wasn't an actual merger or anything like that. We just literally just did a rebrand from scratch. We rebranded Garage Door Solutions, gave ourselves a whole new image, and came up with Jolly Goat Garage Doors to take that moving forward.
So I know a lot of small business owners, once they kind of get a grasp or a handle on their business, they talk about, should I rebrand? What was kind of your purpose for completely going with a whole different name and direction?
Yeah, so it's a great question because the easy first answer has always been, well, we do a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year projection for the business. And a couple of years ago, we sat down and part of that projection involved going into other markets and expanding outside of our current market. So I started doing a little bit of research in these other markets, and turns out I found some other companies out there that are called Garage Door Solutions. So this really cool name that I thought that was creative, that I came up with, turns out everybody has it everywhere else. So that prompted the initial thought process of, well, we're going to have to change our name if we're going to go into these other markets. And so I started talking to some of my colleagues in the industry that are in other markets in the garage door space that have recently done a really cool name change and changed their image. And I started talking to them. I said, what does it look like to do a name change? And they said, well, we didn't really do a name change. We rebranded. And that was a new terminology to me. And I said, well, what is that? So started diving into that. I started doing a lot of research and realized, you know what, if we're going to do this, or we're going to take it to the next level, we're going to have to do a full rebrand and just change everything.
Wow. So was that hard? Because, usually our first business is our baby.
Yeah, it really was. It was one of those one of those mindset shifts that I had to do again, and just I had to wrap my head around. Well, and it's a scary thing to think, okay, well, I've got 9 years into this business, almost 10, and I've been building it. Like you said, it's my baby. I've been nourishing this thing, and now I'm fixing to just throw all that away and
Yeah.
and change that whole image that I've been really pushing. I mean, and so yeah, it was something that was hard. I lost a lot of sleep. We'll put it that way. But I surrounded myself with some people that had done it before, and they were like, you know what, just trust the process, trust it. It'll happen. It'll make sense. And so I did that. And it was a very scary process, especially in the early days of the rebrand.
So what you're saying is pivots can be scary.
Very much so.
I had a
And
business and we
could be.
rebranded, rechanged
Yeah,
the name and things like that. And I'll never forget. I felt like I lost my baby. Like I
yeah.
felt like it wasn't mine anymore. It was everyone else's. It was somebody else's. Did you feel the same way?
I did. Only it whenever that feeling started coming back around of it's everybody else's, it really it evolved into everybody else being like our immediate community and our
Hmm.
team. And it was just embedded into our culture from the very beginning. So I didn't feel like I lost it. I felt like I almost kind of gained all this other love and respect that wasn't there before with the old name, that now the whole team had buy-in. And because they actually played a big role in the naming process. And so everybody had buy-in and everybody bought it. So when I lost control of the old one, I felt like the new control that we had was even better. It just felt right because of our culture and because of our team.
I've heard business owners like yourself going through some significant pivot like that. And I'll just say it, it's simple. They say, I feel like I have a real business now.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that
Absolutely.
way?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Whenever, and that's also another, I never knew what that felt like. I never knew what to look like or what that would look like until it actually happened. And then when it did, yeah, it's like, man, this is a real deal. Like even if I wanted to stop this thing right now, I don't think I could.
You're too deep
Pulled up
in.
this morning. I am, I pulled up this morning in the parking lot, and I'm like, there's like 8 or 9 cars out here, people that are working in this office doing, just this the way everything's developed and grown because of the rebrand. It's insane.
Yeah, well, it's very exciting. So, just to refresh our listeners, it's all about pivots in business. And so, we talked about your significant pivot was sitting in the parking lot of a hardware store, wondering, am I really going to go get a job? And you pulled out of there and said, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to figure it out. So, you've been making significant, robust strides along the way. And then you come up and you do this complete rebrand. So, I know business owners have considered that what you did is more than just going to an artist or a graphic designer and getting a logo. Because I know a lot of small business owners, they think small like that. You went for the full blown thing. So kind of share kind of what that was. What are some red flags to look for? Because that's expensive, first of all. And it's not just getting a graphic designer to, retouch your logo.
Yeah, it really is. And that's part of the process that I had to learn along the way as well. And we interviewed multiple agencies, and there were a couple of them that were just that. They were really well known. They had done a lot of stuff. Their website looked great. They had a lot of really cool images and brands that they had created. But all it really was after talking to them was, oh, well, you give us some ideas and we'll throw some images together and that'll be your new brand. And that just didn't feel right to me. If I was going to do this and dive in, and like you said a second ago, Michael, it's a very expensive process. It can be a very expensive process if it's not planned correctly. And some of these other companies, they weren't really trying to charge a whole lot of money. Some of them were, but they all kind of had the same outcome. And it was like, well, they wanted me to do all the work. And then they were going to come up with these images and some phrases and things like that. And they were able to create, and they wanted to, create all these different things with our website and any other art or any other marketing pieces that we had out there. And that was all fine and well, but it didn't really sit with me and what we wanted to do to create this new, just complete actual brand. We were doing more than changing our image. We were changing everything. So whenever we just started doing the research, we finally found a company. I actually met a guy that's out of New Jersey, and he was at a conference that I was at. He was actually speaking at a conference that I was at in Arizona. Man, what he had to say just blew my mind. And it was complete opposite of these other companies where I actually had to interview with them in order for them to take me on as a client to make sure it's a good fit. Their focus was only home service companies, which was where I was at. That was my space. And so I really would push the listeners going through this process, make sure you find somebody that's exactly what you need for what you do. These other companies, they had some other images and brands that they created, but it was for like the schools and colleges, and it was for attorneys and doctors and things like that. It was all well and good, but it wasn't my space. I didn't feel like they really understood me. This other company did. And so we ended up going with them, and they sat down and they put together a very robust, 3-month and 6-month plan of what this whole process looks like. Once we started, having these conversations, they started interviewing me, and they were asking me questions like, they were asking me questions when I was a child, things that I liked and some of my dreams and some of my passions, all the way up to adulthood up till now. Talked about our culture. They even sat in on some of our meetings via Zoom just to kind of get a feel for our vibe and our company. Then they did a lot of research on our competition. Then they did a lot of research on our market to find out our ideal customer, our customer avatar, we call it. What's the best type customer out there that we serve? Also the people we're trying to attract to come work for us, that we want to recruit. What does that person look like? And they developed a whole brand around all of those questions.
That's important advice, because something you said earlier was expanding into other markets. So I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I'm assuming that means out of state. And I just want to share with our listeners, because I'm a business coach, and I actually worked with a company that was rebranding, and they spent tens of thousands of dollars. The unfortunate thing was they had already spent that money before they realized, hey, we better go make sure that there's not other company names using this name in all the states. And they had to start all over, because they had to go make sure that someone else hadn't already trademarked that company name. And unfortunately, there were like 6 or 7 states that had a similar name that they would have had to fight the legal battle, and then they couldn't have operated in that. Is that kind of what you're talking about when you say expand into other states?
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
And so the company we went with to do the rebrand knew what our plans were in the future. And they knew we're going to be expanding outside of our state. And so they did all the research for us, and they went through the whole process so that we could get federally trademarked. We knew there was only one other Jolly Goat anything in the country, and there's a company called Jolly Goat Coffee that's a local coffee shop in New York City. That was it. And so I actually called them up, just cold called them just to say hi, kind of talked to the owner and told him kind of what we had going on. He was so excited. He thought that was really cool. But other than that, there's nothing Jolly Goat out there. And so that was also helped us make the decision of that's the name that we wanted to go with.
Very, very important. Very important to know, which just proves, that you've got to find the right company. So I'm thankful that you're sharing all this for listeners. So the process of going, they had a very comprehensive interview process, things like that. What kind of led them down GOAT? What does that stand for, Jolly Goat?
So, they gave us, initially they gave us 5 name options after like 3 months of them doing all their research and all their work. They had a very specific process, and I trusted the process, so I followed it. The process was only to have the owners or the final decision makers on that first Zoom call. That was just me by myself. So they put 5 names up there. Keep in mind, those names, there was no images, there was no artwork, no nothing, just a name and a description of why they came up with that name, 5 options. Then they said, sit on that, pick one or two, then sit on it. Don't share it with anybody. And then share it with your upper management team a week or two later. Do the same thing with them. I gave them the same presentation that I got. They chose one or two. At the time, that was only two other people. They chose a couple. Then we talked about it, but we didn't ever say this is what we're going to settle on at all. And then a week later, we shared it with our entire team. Now, keep in mind, this is the process that the company that I hired told me to do. And when we shared it with the team, for lack of a better term, we put all the names into a hat and drew it out. Everybody except for one person, and the entire team at that time was 8 people, I believe.
And that's just your leadership team.
No, this was
Everybody.
our service technicians,
okay.
Everybody, all together. And we ended up having 8 or 9 people, and ended up every single person except for one chose Jolly Goat. The only person that chose a different name is because his name rhymed with the name of that other company or that other option. Yeah. And but his second choice was Jolly Goat. So I knew right then and there that Jolly Goat was our brand. Like, that was our culture that fit with us, since everybody chose that without any encouragement from other people or anything like that. That was kind of the process that they put in front of us to get to where we were, to make sure that the actual name itself. From there, it was quite a bit more time to start working on the artwork and coming up with images. To answer your question on the goat part, they came up with the jolly part because one of my whys is joy, and we got that out in the very beginning, and just bringing joy to the people around me. Who, if I meet somebody at a supermarket or in my team, whatever, and they could see how that reflected in our team when they sat in our meetings and the fun that we were having. So they wanted something fun, joyful, jolly. That's where that came from. And the goat part, and honestly, and I'm going to be aging myself a little bit here, Michael, but I didn't pick up on the complete obvious that everybody thinks about. One of my younger team members did. It was like, hey, coach, and they call me coach. And he was like, coach, we're the GOAT. This is awesome. Greatest of all time. And I was like, oh, dang it. I didn't even think about that. So it also was not, keep in mind, that was not in the presentation that I got from this company. That's not what they were going for. That was just kind of an added bonus now that we use internally. We don't market that out to, we know that we're the greatest of all time because that's just what we live and breathe every day. Right. But we don't market that out to the public. We use that internally, though, to market with our team members. So now, like, we have the GOAT award at the end of the year. We have, we have all the stuff that we've wrapped around the greatest of all time for each position that we have in the company now. So we're able to actually, bring that on board as well. Also, I learned a heck of a lot about goats. This company I'm talking about that did the rebrand for us, they did a lot of research, and we learned about how resilient goats are and how far in time they go back and what all they can do and how long they can survive, and it was just amazing. So all of those things wrapped into it is where the goat part came from, and it just all made total sense to us.
You're listening to Small Business Pivots, a podcast created for small business owners who are ready to take their business to the next level with more freedom and more profit. If you need help growing your business, go to michaeldmorrison.com. And don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast. Let's get back to our guest. Well, you're first to market then for garage doors, being the GOAT. So, a lot of people with sports figures, they argue who is the GOAT in this sport and that sport. I mean, there's no argument with you in the garage door space. I mean, you are the first one. So, and for listeners, so tell us a little bit. I mean, you all have really taken this and taken it to the next level. So I'm always of the belief that in any business, a customer should experience from the front door to the back door the exact same experience. It should be the same. And you, being the GOAT, you actually have goats on your premises, right?
We do. Yeah. We actually have 3 little Nigerian pygmy goats. One of them is our mascot. His name is Jolly. And then he's got 2 sisters. They were all born at the same time. They're all siblings, and we have them on site. We've done a lot of really fun, we wanted to own this thing. And so we thought, well, let's get some goats in here. Let's have fun with them. Honestly, a little secret. I've always kind of dreamed of having a pet goat. I always thought that'd be pretty cool. But what I've learned is you can't just have one. You have to have multiple. They're herd animals.
Absolutely.
And they don't live very long if they're by themselves. So we got all 3 of them after they were born. They're about 13, 14 weeks old now. And, but they're a lot of fun. We've been using them for Facebook stuff. We've been using them for TikToks and have some really fun videos with them. And actually, funny story, Michael, one of them, actually Jolly, decided to find his way up the stairs in our shop and got up on our mezzanine. And we have where our conference room is, it's a drop ceiling. And he got up on the mezzanine and jumped onto the drop ceiling, going through the drop ceiling
Oh
into the
no.
conference room. And we actually got it on video. He was fine. He's perfectly all right. But it was a pretty funny process. So now we've had to kid proof our whole shop. So now we've got, cage everywhere. We've got, everything walls set up so that they can't, they're not free to roam like they were there for a while. And then we set up a pen outside also. So they've got plenty of room to roam out there as well.
So your team has really, I mean, this just shows the value of getting your team involved, because they're taking, I mean, I can't imagine having animals roam around in the shop if everybody's wondering why, like cats or something. That just doesn't make sense. But what is the life expectancy of a goat? I'm just curious.
So I've asked that question before too, because I was curious as well. They can live 15 to 20 years.
Really? Okay.
Health properly taken care of. Yeah, absolutely. And I've heard of some stories of some of them living even longer than that.
That's really cool. So the buy-in from your team, did they get excited? I mean, how did you introduce that we're changing our name? Because that is such a long, I mean, what you're describing is a very long process. It's not just something you do overnight. So how did you get your team to like, calm down, because I know sometimes when you introduce new things, everybody gets excited.
Yeah, they get excited. Sometimes they get frustrated too, especially when you can't tell them exactly what's going on. But the cool thing about it is I didn't know what was going on either. So we all shared in those experiences together as we were going through the early stages of the process. And all I kept telling them is that we're going to go through a rebrand. We're going to be changing everything. It's not just our name. We're going to change this whole thing. And our culture was already building as Garage Door Solutions. And as we were adding people, our culture was starting to kind of get there. And so I knew that once we had everybody's buy-in, as far as they were excited about what we were going to do, even not knowing, the fact that I didn't know either, I think, is what helped it. If I would have known and would hold it back from them, then it probably would have been a different story. But yeah, they were all in the whole time. Everybody was as patient as they could be and very excited for the reveal day of the day that we came up with the names.
How hard was that for you as a business owner to wait?
Oh, patience is one of those things that I pray about, Michael. And so
I think we
I'm
all
getting
do.
a lot better at it. Yeah, I think, as a business owner, you want things to happen just as quick as possible a lot of times, and sometimes they don't. This is one of those things that you have to be patient with. And quite honestly, it's not something that should happen overnight. It's something that needs to take some time, and there needs to be a process for it. But yeah, being patient was definitely a big part of it for sure.
So how long from this podcast, how long have you had the brand reveal, and how long has it been?
Yeah, we actually went live with it on July 16th. So it hasn't been too long. So we're still actually in kind of the infant stages of launching everything. We started before the launch, we started wrapping our trucks. We were doing like one truck a week because it's expensive. And we only had one extra truck at the time. So we were kind of rotating people through service trucks. And so we didn't have it all done. I wanted to have all the trucks wrapped by the launch date, but we didn't. And we had some other print stuff, and our website was supposed to be ready by that time, and it wasn't. It was a little bit longer. So there were several things that didn't work out, but that launch date was something I stuck to. I planned it and I stuck to it. I said, that's the one we got to do. And so that's whenever it came out. And now we have all the trucks wrapped and everything's done and everybody's seen it out there around the city.
So it's been about 4 months that you've been live, and it was probably 4 months before when we talked and you were already working on this. So what would you say the timeline was from the time you decided that we're going to rebrand to the time that you were actually able to reveal? How long was that?
So my process, I think it's different for every company. My process took a total of about 7 or 8 months.
Oh, wow.
From very start, like, hey, this is what we're going to do, to the very end launch date. And that process, a lot of it was, it just takes time. A little bit of it was me. There were some times where I thought, you know what, this month's not a good month to focus on this. Let's put it off till next month or next week, whatever the case was. So there was a little bit of pushback. I think realistically, that whole process could have been done the same way in probably about 6 months, but it took a little bit longer for us.
Okay, so not too much longer, but would you say, well, obviously it was worth the wait because I can just
Oh, absolutely.
see and hear your passion, and you've got goats on site and everything, and your team's all on board. Did it change the inspiration of your vision? I mean, can you like see bigger things now?
Oh, absolutely. We were already going to be scaling anyway. This brand is going to allow us to scale at a much faster, easier pace. Scaling is never easy. I don't mean that. And
Right.
it's going to make it easy, but it's just going to be with the brand and the brand awareness we're going to have in the community and the acceptance. It's going to be a lot easier to get it out there. With a name like Garage Door Solutions, you've really got to pound it over and over and over again into somebody for them to even maybe possibly remember that name
Mhm.
whenever they have an issue with when they need our services. Jolly Goat, not so much. When you hear it, you remember it and you know it. And now when people have a garage door that's broken, they don't think, hey, who do I need to call? It's Jolly Goat Garage Doors because they saw one of our trucks or they saw an ad somewhere or whatever the case is.
Yeah, we're gonna post some pictures of your goats and your trucks on this podcast, so listeners be looking for that. So, what other pivots have you learned since we last talked, or have you experienced? Are there any pivots you've done that you're like, I wish I wouldn't have done that?
Oh man, I always have those pivots. I got to tell you though, for the listeners, anybody that's thinking about going through a rebrand, it is a big deal. Take it very seriously. One of the areas where I kind of messed up and would have done something a little bit differently is I took some advice from some other colleagues and said, you know what, if you don't have the money to do this or you're not financially not ready, don't do it. And so I wasn't financially ready to do it, but I went out and got a line of credit in advance before I needed it to use for the rebrand. Then when the rebrand process came around, it wasn't all out of pocket at once. It's over a course of time. You're paying for things when it comes to the actual rebrand and the images and then the marketing pieces of it and then your trucks and everything else that goes along with it. We had a little bit of cash we were sitting on. So I said, you know what? Forget that line of credit. Let's just use our cash and let's make this thing done. So we self-funded the rebrand. Now it's kind of put us in a little bit of a cash crunch, right? And so a little bit of a position where, you know what, we looking back that we got approved at a really good rate. I should have used that money for that's what it was there for, so that it didn't kind of put us in a little bit of a crunch now. So that would be my biggest thing. Make sure you're financially ready and to make a move like that because it's something that is it will pivot your business into the stratosphere, but it's got to be done right. And it's not cheap. It's not
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah, that's good advice. So since you have launched this new brand, what differences have you seen, whether it be financially, socially, community wise, broadening your
Yeah.
brand?
Yeah, so we actually did the fair, which for the listeners in the state of Oklahoma, the Oklahoma State Fair is a big deal. It's a 12-day thing, and we had a booth in one of the big event centers there, and we had a big booth set up. It was the first time we ever done it. And at that point, this was in September, so that was early September, and we were still just kind of fresh from that rebrand, but we had all our trucks out on the street. And I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people came up to us saying how they had seen our trucks or
Wow.
saying how, no, I saw your truck and I Googled you, or yeah, we used your services because I saw your truck or saw a sign, saw a yard sign, saw this, saw that. And so that right there reassured me that the community around me has accepted this brand. They love it. Our intentions it's exactly happening the way it
Yeah.
was supposed to. So I knew that at that point, everything, I actually kind of took a little sigh of relief just hearing all that positive feedback because that was one of my biggest things. And any business owner is like going to think, man, what if this doesn't work? Right. I mean, you
Yeah.
always got to think about that. And that reassured me that it was working and that the community really, really accepted, what we had going on. Also just, I keep talking about my team internally, but really it kind of shifted everybody into this just a little bit more fun, a little bit more exciting atmosphere that we have. Having the goats right here on site, they go out and check on them all the time. We play with them. They'll walk around the office every now and then,
Making
and
unexpected visits into your
uh,
meetings through the
that's
ceiling.
exact. They do that too. Yep, that happens. So it's but overall, I'd say the acceptance from everybody around the community and my team alike has been really good. And in the very beginning, whenever we did have the name, and I wasn't sharing it with a lot of people, but once we had decided on a name, I kind of was very slowly telling some people about it, but not a lot. And some of the people I shared it with were kind of like, Jolly Goat garage doors like that. They just didn't quite get it.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't anything to go with that, right? It was just verbiage at that point. And now that they see it, now that they see everything, the actual brand and feel it, and now we've got it blasted out there everywhere now. It makes sense to everybody and they get it.
Yeah, it's hard. When Google first came out, everybody's like, "What's Google?" Back in the '90s, that didn't make sense, and now it's a household name. So that it's just a matter of time. And for listeners, I also want to share. So a lot of listeners probably haven't been to Oklahoma, but Oklahoma City metropolitan area has well over 1 million residents, and so it's a larger city than a lot of people think. So when you're talking about the fair and things, I don't want them to think that it's like some rural country fair or anything. No, it's a big deal. Like you said, a lot of people come to that. So did people buy into, like, did you get a lot of leads from that or a lot of recognition?
We actually did, Michael. I didn't know what to expect again, but man, we did. We crushed it at the fair. I mean, I've already signed up to do a bigger booth next year.
Very cool.
It's amazing. Yeah. With the leads we got there, we came up with a nice promo, and the way our sales process works is we don't really quote anything over the phone. We want to come out to your home, measure everything, take pictures, sit down with you, talk to you about exactly what your needs are, and then provide some estimates. So we were able to set up a lot of free estimates and getting our people out there and meeting more of the community. And man, we closed a lot of deals. We really did. And we're still closing them. We'll be putting doors in from the fair well into next year.
Very, very nice. Congratulations. So we're going to check in with you about every 6 months. You're one of my favorite business owners that is actually taking action with a plan, which are two of my biggest things you have to do in business is have a plan and take action. The miracles will happen from there. So what are some of the things that you're kind of focused on in the next 6 months before we revisit that are impact your business?
The last few days, including the end of this week, going into next week, me and my upper management team are hyper focused on our plan for next year. Again, like I said earlier, when we started this podcast, we do a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year projection, but that 1 year really is the most important to us. And so you should see the walls in my conference room right now. They're just covered. We use those big Post-it notes. They're like 2 foot by 3 foot. We got the walls covered in them. All of our whiteboards are full of stuff. We've got notes everywhere, putting together budgets, putting together projections. And basically what we're doing is like we do every year, is we're building a roadmap for what next year looks like. We start at the very end of next year and we work our way backwards and we backfill it the whole way, all the way down to, literally all the way down to the day, and each truck and each person, what they need to be doing every hour of the day in order to hit those goals. And so that's what we're focused on right now and will be for the next couple of weeks.
So when a company is going through these changes as quick as you are, a lot of the popular books out there, they say have a 10-year plan, 5-year, 7-year, but when you're going through this many changes, that's kind of hard to do, like a 10-year plan, isn't it? Because you're focused on the immediate future.
Yeah, it really is. When I first started listening to some of those books, and I would do like a 1 year, 3 year, 10-year outlook. And I realized real quick, a year into it, I was like, that 10-year doesn't mean anything to me. I can't even focus on that. I really got to focus on the now and what the next basically 3 years look like. But that 3 years doesn't mean anything if this 1 year doesn't happen the right way. And so, now that we're able to track everything as close as we are and keep all of our KPIs in check and all that good stuff and look at it on a daily basis, we really can dial in these goals and we can make it happen. We just have to have a roadmap on how to get there. And that roadmap that we're building will tell us exactly, it starts obviously for us, it's different for everybody. For us, it starts with a revenue goal and a profit goal. Like how much profit do we want to make on this number of revenue? And we start working backwards from there. And that tells us how many people we're going to need in the office answering the phones, how many people we're going to need dispatching, how many technicians on the residential side, on the commercial side, on the install side. It's going to tell us all that information, how many trucks we need. We break it all the way down. And once we have all that in place, man, we just put on the boots and start going.
Yeah. So at the time of this recording, it's Q4 2023. So you're talking about 2024, correct? So here we are. You still have quite a few weeks to go before we start. And then do you just go all in on January 1st, or do you wait till everybody how does that work?
It'll be, it's kind of a variation a little bit. It depends. That right there around Christmas time is going to be a little bit of our slow time. Just our industry it experiences a little bit of slow time right there, like a lot of them do. So we'll start gearing up for it. We will actually start in December implementing stuff that's not implemented now. Some of it's going to work, some of it's not. So we want to start off a little bit early so that we can kind of make sure that and come January 1st, we're ready to go. Stuff that's actually going to be working and something that we can create and scale.
We're out of time. Can you believe that?
Man, that went by fast.
you and I can talk for
Yeah,
hours.
yeah.
I'm so excited for you and your new brand. Any last words of wisdom you want to share with our listeners?
Man, I just gotta say, go for it. Just be smart about your decisions that you make. If you're thinking about going through a rebrand, if it's something you've even thought about, look at it really close because it's something that can really make a huge difference in your life, your people's lives, all your team members and your personal life as well, and everybody that's surrounded by you with a positive brand in your community. You can do amazing things with it, and there's no limits. We are now not limited to anything with this brand. I haven't come across one thing yet that we can't do with this new brand, and all of those things are stuff that we could not do as when we were called Garage Door Solutions. We couldn't do them.
Well, you are a prime example of the freedom that a business owner has, because I always say, as a business owner, every day is an exciting adventure with problems to be solved and memories to be made, and you are making those memories. So congratulations, and I can't wait to see what you do in the next 6 months.
Thanks, Michael. I'm excited.
Welcome to the recap and the Coach's Corner, where I give actionable steps that you can implement in your business that will move the needle. Our recap today is I really want you to evaluate, does your company name make sense for growth? Is your team excited like Jeff is with posting pictures of goats and sharing your brand, etc.? Which leads into our coaching corner. Your action items this week is to evaluate your brand. Is it exciting? Deep dive into it and ask questions. Does your name make sense? Your company name makes sense? If it's Michael's Blue Pleasures, and you're focused on swimming pools and backyard landscapes, does Michael's Blue Pleasures really make sense? You really want people to understand. And if it doesn't make sense, do you have taglines and things that support it so that it does? It really is. I really see a lot of small business owners missing the mark when it comes to their company name. They try to be too creative. They try to use names like Google, or they want to be the next Google. They want to be this big, elaborate brand. Well, small businesses, we don't have those kind of resources that they did to educate people of what Google is. So keep it simple. Your action items are to evaluate your brand, see if it makes sense, and then take a really deep dive into it and assess, does a rebrand make sense? There's a lot of companies that do rebrands, and I really, really, really want to hit on just recreating your logo is not a rebrand. There's more to it than that. Go back and listen to the show and listen to all the interview processing that Jeff went through, all the way from his history, his background, his team, they set in on company meetings. That's a true rebrand. And then consider, does it make sense, and do we have the resources to do that? Because when you come out on the other end, your team is re-energized, it gives you new focus, but it's not for every business. And I will caution small business owners that many, many times, just investing, if you think that a new logo or new colors can re-energize your company, many, many times it doesn't do anything. It might give self-gratification and renew the spirits from within the small business owner, but it doesn't move the needle. So those are your action steps. If you want more business coaching, go to michaeldmorrison.com. We have a lot of blogs. We have our podcast there that you can pick up. We have other solutions. And we also have another website for more tools and resources for online courses, master classes, and lots of other things at businessownershipsimplified.com. We also have our free tutorial videos, a plethora of those, many hours, well over 150 videos, I believe, at Business Ownership Simplified on YouTube, and connect with me personally, please, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, any of those channels. I look forward to seeing you next episode. Have a great week.